I mentioned earlier in the show, if you get a chance, go to Yahoo Sports and read what Charles Robinson has been writing. He specializes in the NFL and investigative reporting. His most recent articles, just like the NFL's deal with Jay-Z, the Colin Kaepernick workout looks like a PR trap. Also, NFL is giving Colin Kaepernick reasons to pull out of Saturday's pro day, and Charles kind enough to join us on short notice. Charles, well done with the columns. How, if you were going to put a percentage on this pro day happening on Saturday, what would you put it at right now?
I think the chances are better today, honestly. I yesterday, if you had asked me that, I would have said that, particularly yesterday night, I would have thought that it was more likely to not happen than happen. But after having some conversations this morning, I think Colin Kaepernick wants to stand by his tweet that this is something that, he's been waiting for almost 3 years now, and that regardless of how the NFL wants to structure this and whether or not they want to turn over the list of who will be attending, whether or not it's, a guy like Joe Philbin who's, running the on-field drills, who doesn't really have the background that's necessarily dovetails with what Colin Kaepernick does best. I think he just wants to go out there and put on a show and show that, hey, look, I wasn't kidding when I said I was ready for this. And if you want to do it on short notice and every other thing you want to throw at this, I'm going to go out here and persevere and show teams that I'm serious about actually wanting to play in the NFL.
But also, it's hastily formed, and hey, we're going to tell the select NFL writers get ready for something on Tuesday, and then Kaepernick finds out. Then, why does it feel like it's under this cloak of secrecy or something? Like there's no full transparency. And Kaepernick was just saying, if you're giving me the chance, then give me the real chance. And it comes back to the question that I've been asking all morning long. Does the NFL want Colin Kaepernick to succeed?
I think it's a legitimate question. I mean, the way this entire thing was rolled out, when you talk to NFL teams about it, I had a chance to talk to a couple of guys in personnel, who would be attending this, and I said, "Did you know this was coming?" And they're like, "Are you kidding me?" They're like, "No, we pretty much found out. Some people in our office found out via the memo, but there were other people who saw it, hit Twitter first before." Any of us in the building knew that this was even going to happen. It's everything about this, as you said. I mean, it suggests that the NFL either doesn't want him to succeed or the way this was approached. I think there's an argument that the league thought he could say no, that he could sit there and say, look, there's too many adverse, circumstances surrounding this. You drop it on the last minute. 4 days, the travel, not giving, an idea of who's going to attend this. There's just a litany of things that suggest that the NFL saw this as, and that's what I wrote initially, that the NFL saw this as something where if he says yes, then it takes the question off the books about him never being worked out. He can't say that anymore. If he says no, well, hey, you know what? We gave him a chance and he turned it down. Now we've kind of basically dropped our anchor on this, and we're at least taking off his best foothold has always been no one's worked me out. We're at least taking that off the table. So, I think asking that question is extremely legitimate, and that's why you have NFL players, even a guy like Malcolm Jenkins, who has not always been necessarily on the same page as Colin Kaepernick in terms of the methods of how they've gone about their business, has questioned the legitimacy behind this.
He's Charles Robinson, senior writer for Yahoo Sports. What's more important, the actual workout or the interview with Colin Kaepernick?
Man, that's a great question. I think for some teams, it's going to be the interview. I think the curiosity. There's definitely a curiosity. That's what's interesting when you talk to some people across the league who have not seen him throw and haven't spoken to him maybe ever or have not spoken to him in a number of years, even going back to when he was drafted out of Nevada. There's definitely a curiosity about what his motivations are, where his head's at, and then what he looks like physically. I had a chance to talk to somebody late last night from one of the teams that will be attending, and he said, look, what's interesting to me is, he said, I went to his Instagram account and I looked at some of these workout videos, and he said he does look physically like the player I remember when he was at his peak. He was a pretty big guy. Like, he was a very, sturdily built for a quarterback, particularly up top, strong, big arms, all these things. And he said there was a point in his career where he suffered some injuries late with the 49ers, and you saw the weight loss. You saw his size diminish, and it led you to question, whether or not he could still be a durable player. He said, I see the player that was once a durable NFL quarterback. He said, I would like to see what does he look like out, throwing the football, and where is he at physically. So I think there are different teams who want to see different things, but there's no doubt the interview and where his head's at, where his motivations are at, and how he answers the question of, how he'll compete if he were brought into a team structure. I think a lot of teams will find that to be one of the pivotal, parts of this.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to get re-signed for the last couple of years, Charles. I think that he's going to get signed again. I don't know why. I'm not basing this off anything. I originally threw it out. Like the Patriots would be the team that I could see bringing him in. And bringing him in for one sole purpose is to get us ready for the rematch with the Ravens in the postseason. I don't know. There's other teams where he could play and, he could start. But I don't know. Do you get the feeling that he's going to be on a roster by the end of the year?
I think it's interesting when you talk to teams. I guess what was interesting to me is teams could have set this up themselves.
I know.
We can talk about, hey, it's the league providing cover, but it's so weird if it really has happened the way that, you're hearing this backstory from the NFL that, hey, there were teams that were interested and they're reaching out to us, and they didn't like the way that things had gone down between he and Seattle and he and Baltimore when he was a free agent. And it's still odd to have teams reaching out to the NFL to arrange for cover, and then you have, why would other teams then show up to watch him if they're not interested, thusly providing cover for other teams to sign him? It's a weird set of circumstances. But that said, when I talk to some people, I was struck by the fact that there is some curiosity, that there are guys that are like, hey, I want to see him. I want to see if he can throw. This stuff on the Instagram, I don't care about any of that. They're like, I want to see him in a structured workout, go through a scripted passing program, and push him a little bit and kind of see where he's at. He's still relatively young, particularly when we consider how long quarterbacks can play nowadays. So I would say that I'm a little more optimistic that there is an opening there, and it's interesting to me that you mentioned the Patriots, because when you look at all the teams that are showing up, Denver's showing up, and I'm like, that's dubious. It's pretty clear that Denver's not really interested. But the Patriots, yeah, that's that team where I'm like, I could see Bill zigs when people expect him to zag, and this is exactly the kind of guy where you're like, maybe he gives him a little something extra that Bill always looks for down the stretch in the NFL season.
I know. Hey, great stuff, Charles. We'll be reading. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dan.
That's Charles Robinson, senior writer for Yahoo Sports.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.